We are halfway through conference play. The countdown to Boise is on, and this week we get a rematch of the top two teams on both the men's and women's sides. Welcome to This Week in Big Sky Basketball. Hello and welcome to This Week in Big Sky Basketball. I'm your host, Megan Robinson. Montana State head coach Tricia Binford has secured her sixth 20-win season during her tenure in Bozeman as her Bobcats extend their win streak to 13 and remain perfect in conference play. Their overall record is 20-2, which ties a Bobcat best run that was set back in the 1987-88 season. Lots to talk about in this one, and with that, I'd like to welcome in head coach Tricia Binford to the show. Coach Binford, 13 straight wins, undefeated in conference play. What is allowing you to have such a successful season so far?
Well, everything starts with great kids. So putting pieces together, this team's really collectively trying to be champions in their roles and maximizing everybody on the floor, and just love the selflessness of this group right now.
When we talked during the preseason, you emphasized the importance of depth. I've talked to several people around the conference, and they're all impressed with the amount of depth you have on your roster. How would you assess the depth in that locker room so far?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I haven't seen this amount of depth ever, and we've really made our philosophy to have 4 to 5 kids in double digits and to utilize our depth. And when we got this group together during the summer, we really were intentional about what does it look like to bring out the best in everybody, because we felt like we could rotate and not lose a beat. And if anything, we definitely gain a spark.
Some of your players who were starters last year might be coming off the bench in some games this season, having to adjust to that new role. What does it say about the quality and character of the ladies on your team that they're just willing to put the team first?
Yeah, it's hard to do. I'll tell you what, Natalie Picton was the first one when Esme was an option in the portal, and we were going after a recruitment. Natalie wanted to be a part of that visit. And, she had started every game. She also knew we had Dylan Phillip coming back and returning. So she knew it was going to impact her, but at the same time, she wants to be on a successful team. And she has absolutely been a champion in her role and been a tremendous teammate. And Lexi Deedon was our leading scorer when she got hurt. And she knows that we're continuing to work her back to not only physical shape and strength and conditioning. But at the same time, it's just a matter of her continuing to bring on these underclassmen. And it's just been really special to see kids just be great teammates, only really care about just doing a great job as a team.
You mentioned Esme Morales. She was, of course, one of the key additions this offseason. After your win over your Sac State, you called her a key ingredient on your roster. What has she brought to the program?
Well, so many things. I'm like, where do you start? Where do you finish? Number one, she's a tremendous leader. She just makes everybody else on the floor better. She brings out the best in her teammates. She brings out composure, steadiness. She celebrates her teammates as good as anybody, if not the best. I'm like, she's constantly celebrating everybody. She's somebody you can put the ball in her hands to make the right decision. You can put the ball in her hands at the end of a quarter. This kid continues just to scratch the surface. She's going to be playing a long time beyond the season.
Looking ahead to Thursday's matchup, it is a rematch with NAU, top two teams in the Big Sky standings. What challenges did the Lumberjacks present in your first meeting?
Well, offensively, they can score from everywhere. This is a very, very high octane offense. Obviously, their point guard makes them go. She really is speedy. She's fast. She's playing at an incredible level right now. You've got Glancy owning the paint for them. You've got shooters all over the place and drivers. They just do a really great job of spreading the floor and playing a high-paced game. And then on the defensive end, they're going to change up and give you different looks that you've got to be able to find efficient and great shots. And, Lori's just done a tremendous job over there that constantly, every single year, you're going to have your hands full of just trying to get stops.
What will be the key to slowing them down offensively and getting the season sweep over the Lumberjacks?
Well, I think everything starts, on our shot. As far as if we don't get the shot, how are we going to defend them as they come into that first 10 seconds? I think they're just so dangerous, and we certainly saw that in the first quarter at their place. And for us, we just need to have a better start to begin with. We had a start that we had to dig ourselves out of a very difficult hole. Because they just jumped on us so early in transition. So this team's very dangerous in transition, and then it doesn't get a lot easier once you get to the half court.
Montana is looking for revenge in their rematch with Northern Colorado. Hear from Grizz guard Kai Johnson next. Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Basketball. I'm Megan Robinson, joined now by Montana guard Kai Johnson. Kai, we'll get right into it. The Grizzlies went a perfect 4-0 in your recent 4-game homestand. What's been working for you guys the last few weeks?
I think it starts on the defensive end. I think that's our focus every practice, working on defense and making sure we get stops, and then letting our defense ride into our offense and getting in transition. And then if we set up our offense, moving the ball. I think the last 4 games we've been doing a really good job of moving the ball and getting touches. And it doesn't matter who scores; anyone can go off for us any given night.
You mentioned your defense after your win on Saturday. Coach DeCuire said that he challenged you guys to have a bigger defensive impact. As a result, you held the Hornets to under 60 points and 37% shooting. What shifted that caused that bigger defensive impact that he was talking about?
Yeah, it starts in practice. It starts going against each other, competing against each other. I always like to say that iron sharpens iron. So getting in the lab and competing with each other helps us get our defense right for sure.
Talking about competing with each other, there's a lot of balance on your team if you look at the stat sheet. Thursday night, you had 6 players in double figures. Saturday, 12 players on the score sheet. What does that say about the balance and depth of your roster?
Yeah, it says a lot. We're a really deep team. We got a lot of great players, and like I said, in practice, being able to have a lot of good players helps us get really good looks on both ends of the floor. So I think it starts with that, and then when it's game time, it's come together for us. We're learning how to play together and how to get everyone involved. From there, it makes it hard for teams to guard you if they don't know who's trying to score.
Talking about your personal game on Saturday, you led the team in scoring in that win over Sacramento State. How do you build on that as you enter the back half of Big Sky play?
Yeah, for me, I think it's just staying aggressive, looking to get to my spots, and then also playmaking out of it. Because when you start playmaking and finding other people, they have to stay honest, and then help defense can't help as much. I think finding my spots, getting other people involved, and letting it come to me is my main focus moving forward.
This is your first season in Missoula after transferring from the D2 level. Why do you think you were able to transition your game so quickly up to the D1 level?
I'd just say it's my confidence, just knowing the work I've put in and the hours and on the floor and trusting that the work will show and believing in myself. So I just stay confident at all times, whether shots are going in or not, and trying to impact the game in other ways.
Looking ahead to this week, you face UNC on Thursday for the second time this season. They currently sit in first place in the conference. You guys are in second. What did you learn from that first meeting that you can apply and improve upon in this second time around?
Yeah, I think since then we've improved a lot. Specifically with that game, I think our defense was really poor. We let them get all the way deep in the paint and get easy layups too many times. So I think learning from that, but then also just riding this kind of wave we're on right now, and still sharing the ball and playing together on both ends of the floor. I think we're going to be ready.
Final half of Big Sky play, about a month away from the tournament in Boise. How can a win over the current #1 team in the standings help set the tone for the rest of the season?
That's huge, especially because they came into our place and beat us up a little bit. So we're excited to get our get back and bring it to them, and that would be a great way to start the second half of the conference play.
Who was voted #1 in the Big Sky preseason softball polls? Find out after this. Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Basketball. I'm your host, Megan Robinson. Softball season starts tomorrow, and the preseason number one was none other than the reigning tournament and regular season champion UNC Bears. Joining me now is head coach of the Bears, Dee Pendleton Helm. Coach, what does it mean to you that your team was voted the preseason number one in the Big Sky?
It's definitely, an honor that the coaches set us there, for sure. I mean, I think it's one of those things where, you try to not let your team focus too much on that because everybody in the Big Sky Conference is just really good. And we are in constant battles with each other all the time. And so it is a definite honor. I know in the past few years, we have not had that, right? We have gone from kind of being ranked last to now getting to preseason pull to first, which is truly an honor. But again, we just have to kind of then focus on just one game at a time and see where we're going to be in this conference. It's just a solid conference for softball, and every game matters and every team is good.
Last season, you won the Big Sky Championship, both regular season and the tournament, had the opportunity to play in the Stillwater Regional. What did you learn through that regional that you can apply to this upcoming season?
Yeah, I think we learned that we can compete against anyone. We had a really good game against Oklahoma State and then really came close to beating Michigan. It just gave us that confidence to go and compete with any team in the country.
You have a lot of veteran players from that squad back for this season. How can they help you build on that going forward?
Just them having that experience and feeding into our younger players of just what that experience is like. It makes them hungry to get back to that same place, right? To get back to a regional, and can we win the conference again? And right, they have that excitement. And it's been an interesting fall and even preseason spring because all of our returning players have just been more hungry, which has been really fun. I feel like we're farther along than we have been at the beginning of the season than we were the last couple years. Just that knowledge and that experience, it's feeding into the younger players and kind of bringing them along, I think, much more quickly, which has been really fun to watch.
Your season starts February 6th. You head down to Puerto Vallarta. You play teams like Florida State, Oklahoma State, teams that have been in the Women's College World Series the last several seasons. What do you hope to learn about your team through those matchups?
We're going into it hard right away, right? So then it will give them that experience of what needs to happen to head into conference. I think we'll find out who's up for the challenge just within our own team. And who wants to, have that, just head-on experience against, we're playing, Florida State ranked 10th in the nation, Oklahoma State ranked 4th. Just hoping it just challenges us to really head in and have a strong season, preseason, and then also in conference.
Your team's mission is one heartbeat. Where did that come from?
Yeah, it's funny because we actually don't talk about winning very often at all. Kind of just the growth of this team is really, that's the motto, right? Last year, it really was about love and care. I think I kind of feel like I'm on repeat for the last couple of years. We don't talk about winning a lot. We talk about just each other and who we are as a program and what our mission is. And it's been a culture of if they love and care about each other like family and that have that one heartbeat, will they play harder for each other? And I think that's kind of been what has happened over our last few seasons. And they are just maintaining that road, really having one heartbeat together, to play together, to fight together, to just be together, win or lose. Yeah, that's kind of been the motto, and it's just built from there.
Coming up, we go inside the Big Sky with analyst Colter Nuanez. Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Basketball. I'm Megan Robinson, joined now by Coulter Nuanez, and we're about to go inside the Big Sky presented by Visit Pocatello. Coulter, let's get right to it. Big weekend in Big Sky basketball. Montana State, Northern Arizona, the women's teams, both have the longest winning streaks in the conference on either side. They face off for a second time Thursday night. What's at stake in this game?
Well, how cool is it for Big Sky fans? Thursday, you got 1 versus 2 for both the men and the women, and it's a little bit of a revenge because the home team lost each of these first two. I know we're going to get into Northern Colorado, Montana a little later on, but this should be a really fun matchup on Thursday in Bozeman. Both these teams love to get up and down. Both these teams have great coaches that are sort of point guard oriented coaches, and Tricia Binford at Montana State and Lori Payne at Northern Arizona. And the thing that's so fun too is that if Montana State wins this game, they continue their winning streak, 11-0 in Big Sky play, and they'll have both matchups against the second best team in their rear view. So, you can never chalk anything up, but you'd have to say that they'd at least have an inside track at maybe running the table. For NAU, if they win, now all of a sudden this thing gets all sorts of chaotic, which would be so fun, because then you'd have a tie atop the league, and it would be tit for tat. Who can beat who can keep it going down the stretch. So either way, I think the result will make it very exciting within the league.
We will get to that 1-2 men's matchup in a minute. I want to stick on the women's side really quickly. Idaho in third place in the women's standings. They had a 6-game winning streak, have lost 2 of their last 3 since. What will it take for them to contend with NAU and Montana State as we get towards the postseason and our conference tournament?
Well, in terms of just continuing to do what they're doing, it's playing with great energy. I think that Arthur Morera has been one of the great surprises in the league, not even just this year, but that I have really experienced in my 18 years covering Big Sky Conference basketball. John Newley was an institution in the Big Sky Conference, right? He's at Idaho State forever, and then he was at Idaho for a really long time. He led them back into the Big Sky, went to the NCAA tournament, always one of the great tournament coaches. So when they moved on from him, it was not without controversy because he had won so many games and he'd been there for so long. Carrie Amy came in and did a good job, but then that was such a weird situation where she was just a one and done, and then she flips and she goes to South Dakota. And so Morera was kind of like the guy that had to inherit this job. And I think people were wondering, well, how's this interim guy going to do? Well, he's done tremendously well. They brought in as many impact transfers as anybody in the conference. And when I watch them, that's the thing that sets them apart. They play so hard. They play with so much passion and heart. I know they dropped a couple of these in the last week or two, but I do think if they can get back to that, they can certainly be a contender to at least make some noise at Boise, in Boise in March.
You alluded to it earlier, the men's 1-2 matchup, Northern Colorado versus Montana. When they played earlier, the Grizz lost 81-57 in that meeting, not even close. What is the key to success and victory in this game for both teams?
I think the Grizz are going to certainly have revenge on their minds. They did not play well. Montana is such an interesting team because I think they're the most talented team in the conference, but they have these 2 sort of anomaly outlier games. That one where they got drilled at home by Northern Colorado. Make no mistake, Northern Colorado is a very good team, and they absolutely outplayed Montana from start to finish in that game. And then also when Montana lost at Idaho State, they were up by 8 at halftime, and then they lost by almost 30. It was a total meltdown. That seemed to be like a total turning point for their team, though. They've won 4 in a row since then. So I think that if Montana can continue to keep playing together, we could see a much closer game. That said, Northern Colorado is the team that's been playing together the best out of anybody in the conference. There's no question about it. I think this could be a great game. I think it'll be a lot closer than it was in Missoula about a month ago.
We are about a month out from Boise. And if you look at recent past years, the middle tier of the Big Sky men have fared pretty well in Boise as opposed to the top 1 and 2 seeds. Our middle standings, our middle of the pack right now is a very, very tight race. Coulter, where would you want to be seated considering the past success of those 7 to 10 seeds in the Big Sky Conference tournament?
Well, it's so interesting the way that it has played out in the last couple of years. I mean, last year we saw the 10 seed go all the way to the semis. So anything, the notion that anything can happen is oftentimes overblown. Anything actually can happen at the Big Sky tournament when the last place team knocks off a couple of the higher seeded teams. So I would just want to be playing really well come that time of the year. Because right now we've seen Northern Colorado, Montana separate themselves on the men's side. And then everybody else has just been sometimes good, sometimes not. So, up and down, up and down. So I think you just want to be playing really well and take some momentum into Boise, because I don't think there's necessarily a team that you're dead set on avoiding, so to speak.
Well, Coulter, Boise will be here before we know it. And if you want to hear more from Coulter and his Big Sky basketball takes, check out Around the Big Sky Women's Hoops, 4 p.m. Wednesdays Mountain Time, and Around the Big Sky's Men's Hoops, 4 p.m. Mountain Time on Thursdays for all that great content, everything on Skyline Sports. Coulter, appreciate you being here again.
Thanks so much, Megan. Appreciate it.
And thank you all for watching another episode of This Week in Big Sky Basketball. Once again, I'm your host, Megan Robinson. Catch you all next Wednesday.